you look around the league, there's a lot of teams, in the hunt. We're in the hunt. You sit here and you say, hey, Thanksgiving, and close to the end of November, and we're in the hunt. When you sit around that table tomorrow, you're saying we're in the hunt. And there's a lot of teams that wish they were in the hunt. Well, we're in the hunt.
I feel like I just checked my bank account and the IRS accidentally gave me $3,000 too much, and I know it's going to be taken away from me. Like that's what it's like being a Bills fan. This isn't going to last, so I'm happy. It's the On the Hunt cast with Sean Murphy, Kyle Turner, and a special guest, Dan Soder, joining us from his own HBO special, Billions, and his own podcast.
The longer we talk,
the
more Dan doesn't have to talk about this.
I want to be so mad at you guys.
Yeah.
I want to be so fucking mad because the Niners got fucking just tromped on, and Allen had a fucking career day on your first Monday night win since 1999. Yeah. Clinton was in office the last time you guys won a Monday night football game.
In our defense, they normally don't let us play on night games because I think they're like, listen, we'd rather people drive drunk during the day. So don't go crazy.
Yeah, it's easier to tell who's fucking day drinking when you're. But I would say your fan base in the Cleveland Browns, I cannot be mad at for winning. I cannot be mad at for winning. I am happy to see the Buffalo Bills have a legit team. I'm excited for them. I'm excited for you guys in the AFC fucking playoffs. Here's the thing about the 49ers. We are, listen, one of the greatest organizations of all time. We got 5 rings. We've been to 2 Super Bowls. We were in the Super Bowl last year. And I'll tell you, it was fun. I went to Miami. We lost. Did Jimmy G overthrow Emmanuel Sanders? Absolutely. But what has happened this year as a 49er fan is like, I tried to explain to it because as the Bills, you guys have played or lived in heartbreak more than any sports franchise ever has. From the 4 Super Bowls in a row to losing them, to not making it to the playoffs since 1995, to having to deal with the fucking Patriots for 20 years and watching them just beat the fucking piss off of you guys.
Our greatest player murdered people too. That
yeah, your greatest player of all time definitely murdered his wife and a waitress.
Right around the time he went to your team, he was getting into that murderous stage. So.
Yeah, dude. Where do you think he picked up the taste for blood? Back in the bag.
Let's also bring up that he was proven innocent. Okay, let's just say that. Let's also remind the people.
That is your argument of you throwing yourself through a table in a parking lot.
The table was there.
Yeah, I would say that I am. I'm not angry at losing at the Bills. I'm more upset at what the 2020 season has been for the 49ers. It's just been a nonstop buffet of bullshit, whether it was, first losing 5 of our players because of MetLife Stadium, which you guys are familiar with. That fucking turf on MetLife took Nick Bosa, Solomon Thomas, Raheem Mostert, D Ford. There's like 5 guys that we have. I think, honestly, the 49ers beat the Bills if we have Nick Bosa, Solomon Thomas, and D Ford playing us. There were several plays against the Bills where I was like, man, if Nick Bosa was in Allen's face, I don't think that play would have happened. We've also been beating ourselves. The 3rd and 18 that we had against you guys last night where Street hit Allen after he released the ball, which gave you a first down, which led to a touchdown. You guys went for it on 4th down. We stopped you on the first goal line, but then you guys got 4th downs the next 2 times you guys did it. So there were things where I was like, man, 3 all-stars make a big difference in those kind of situations. And not having Jimmy G there, like people want to talk shit about Jimmy G. Listen, Nick Mullins is a good backup quarterback, and that's what he is. He's a good backup. He couldn't do the thing to beat a good football team. And you guys, I'm going to say it, are a very good football team. I think the Buffalo Bills have all the pieces finally.
Well, that's why I was scared of this game, because like the Bills that I know and love, they look good all season, and then it gets steamrolled on national television by Nick fucking Mullins, and then we lose our next 4 games and miss the playoffs. That's the Bills I know and love for all my life.
I mean, you guys are going to have an uphill fight with the Chiefs and the Steelers, but watching what the Browns did to the Titans makes me feel like the AFC is way more open than we thought it was.
It's funny how fast it switched from a couple years ago when the AFC was dog shit. Except
That's just
the
what
Patriots,
it does, though.
And then it was the Rams, the 49ers, and the Seahawks and the Saints. And you're like, this NFC is going to be good forever. And there's just a couple seasons later, it's like the NFC has one good team and the Bills beat them.
Yeah, I would think next year that the NFC West will be the best conference in football. I think a healthy 49ers, a grown Arizona Cardinals, Seahawks, and the LA Rams are going to be, they're actually going to be the AFC North, I think. We're just going to have three of our 4 teams are going to go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
This whole league is dog shit, though. Like, I mean, look at the Steelers. Listen, they're dog shit. They were undefeated. They were a dog shit team. They dropped 8 passes or something like that.
Yeah.
The Saints, their freaking quarterback is dog shit, and their good quarterback is older than shit. Like, the whole league is bullshit and terrible, and we suffer through this every single week. Like, how do you analyze dog shit? Like, no team is as good as everyone thinks they are.
No team is as good as they think they are. And I also think this is the perfect season where it's all weird and out of whack. This is the season for the Bills to get a Super Bowl.
Yeah, there it is.
This is the season. This is nothing would be more 2020 than the Buffalo Bills winning a Super Bowl.
Well, it's almost worrying if the Bills win a playoff game. I mean, the entire city is getting COVID.
Yes.
Like
I'd 100% go home. I wouldn't care. I'd 100% go home. I'd march through the streets. I'd kiss everyone. But
we'll burn everything and sterilize it, so it's okay.
That's a very good point. I never thought about that. The fire will make the COVID.
That's how you cure.
They're wiping down the tables with like Clorox wipes. Before you go through that, make sure it's COVID free. Wipe that shit down.
If you're gonna power bomb your friend through a table, make sure it doesn't have any COVID on it. I read an interesting article, and this was obviously in the San Francisco Chronicle, but it was a couple weeks after we lost it. It was actually, I want to say 2 months after we lost the Super Bowl. And they were like, hey, 49ers, it was probably better that you lost the Super Bowl because COVID was a problem in San Francisco when the Niners played in the Super Bowl. And if we would have won and there would have been a parade, that would have been terrible. I mean, that's
but
exactly
if grandma's got to die to celebrate a Super Bowl.
I'm telling my Nana.
You got to lose somebody. At least they went out with a win, you know?
Yeah, you used to go to Kezar. You know how important this fucking win is.
You just said you're on Team Garoppolo. Do you think he's good enough or special enough? I don't think he's special enough. I mean, definitely hot, but is he special enough to win, or should they be looking in the draft? I know this is a Bills fan talking draft in December, but are you like, listen, Nick Mullins backup, Jimmy Garoppolo, decent to good starter, maybe above average, but I think he's special.
I think he's he's much more than above average. I think we're 22-8 when we have Jimmy G in, and I think he can do things. There's small things that he can do that people don't give him credit for, which is just pick up a third down when we need it, or just get the ball to, make sure you're feeding it to the hot guy, whether it be George Kittle or Jordan Reed or Ayuk or Deebo Samuel didn't touch the ball until the third quarter. That's a problem. He's one of our best offensive, and he gave you guys a problem the second he started touching the ball. So it's like, well, why the fuck hasn't he been touching it? Do I think Jimmy G is like, I mean, you're talking about a town where you're going to immediately get compared to Montana and Young, or even Jeff Garcia. And I think it's like, I don't know. I honestly, this is where I have to trust Kyle Shanahan and where I have to trust the organization and John Lynch. They're going to make that decision.
Yeah.
I like Jimmy G, but if someone like a Matt Ryan or a Carson Wentz becomes available for the 49ers, I wouldn't be mad at them going in a different direction.
There's a lot there. There's a lot there. Like Carson Wentz, I'm curious that you would think he's good, but I can't really listen to much because you put Jeff Garcia in the same breath as Joe Montana. And
well, I'm saying you're coming into an organization that has quarterbacks that have just like Jeff Garcia took us to the playoffs several times.
Also, T.O. thought he was gay, which is my funniest Jeff Garcia thing.
It is. Jeff Garcia
T.O. thought he was gay.
The only funnier thing than Jeff Garcia or T.O. thinking Jeff Garcia is gay is Jeff Garcia going out of his way to prove that he's not.
He was a Ryan Tannehill level quarterback, though.
Yes. You know what? That was stupid for me to include it. You actually have a good point.
We keep people in check on the in-the-hunt contract. It should be called in check.
I forgot that you guys only deal in truths up in Buffalo.
Yeah.
But I don't think Jimmy G is going to be a guy where, I think if he would have won that Super Bowl, it's a completely different conversation. And now we're like, oh, well, Jimmy G, I think he wins that Super Bowl. We do put him in the Young and Montana conversation where you're like, oh, here's a guy who came in because he's got a lot of money. We've paid him a lot of money. It's just, can he keep evolving into the quarterback? And I do think Carson Wentz is a good quarterback. I think he's gotten a fucking bum rap because I do. I think he's had no weapons this season. And before that, he wasn't used properly. Also, I think the funniest thing in the world would be if Carson Wentz goes to another team and is just a fucking lights out all pro. And you got to watch everyone in Philly go like, yeah, what was that about? Why was that in fucking Philadelphia? Well, maybe you shouldn't put an unnecessary, and you motherfuckers do this. You guys put an unnecessary amount of pressure sometimes on your players that break them so that when they go to another city that doesn't really care, they can thrive. And I think
I think coaching is a big thing too. I think there's a possibility you see that with Darnold because Adam Gase is probably one of the worst coaches I've ever seen in my life. And nothing is better than Greg Williams finally being out of football. I saw that play live where he blitzed the house on a Hail Mary. I was just pacing around my room like a maniac for an hour. Like, I can't believe I saw that happen. Like, if you gave a random person a playbook and they picked a random play, it would have been better than the play he picked. There was a QB spy on Derek Carr. Like, I couldn't get over how insane that play was.
Yeah, if you were playing Madden, that kind of play calling, you'd be like, hey, don't do that. Don't run punt rush on a fucking third down. And he's like, no, I'm going to bring the house. I think it's, man, you see how bad coaching can really fuck someone up. And we know that because we drafted Alex Smith, who now is having a resurgence. I love watching what he's doing coming back from the injury in Washington and beating the Steelers, and everyone's like having his moment. But Alex Smith mentally was destroyed in San Francisco because he had fucking 8 coordinators in 7 seasons with like 5 different head coaches. The guy doesn't have a chance to get his identity. And I think Carson Wentz was a guy that was awesome. He was the reason the Eagles were set up to go to the playoffs when they won the Super Bowl. And then he gets injured. Foles comes in, wins the Super Bowl. And now you got a city like Philadelphia that's like, okay, so just do what Nick Foles did. And Carson Wentz is like, well, I'm not Nick Foles. And then they're like, yeah, we know, and we miss him. And so now he's in his own fucking head. And so don't be surprised if he goes to a Jacksonville or somewhere and fucking lights it up because he's like, oh, I forgot I'm a really good quarterback.
Well, you wonder a lot of those times. It's like, is Josh Rosen bad, or is he just in the 2 worst situations in the past decade, or was Nick Foles even ever better than average, or was he just in a great situation with Frank Reich on the Eagles that year?
Exactly. And you guys have, I think one of the best young quarterbacks, top 3, and Josh Allen. And what I found interesting was because, again, my friend coaches for the 49ers. One of my best friends from middle school is the run game coordinator for the 49ers. So it's insane. It's like a lifelong dream of mine to be able to be close to the organization. But to hear the information that I hear from him is like, that's why I'm like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen with Jimmy G. Let Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch decide that. These guys are fucking crazy smart. The Josh Allen story that I find so fucking incredible wasn't praise for Buffalo. It was a slam on Denver because apparently when Josh Allen was at Wyoming, all of the scouts in the NFL, specifically in Denver, were like, hey, this guy plays like John Elway. This guy plays exactly like John Elway. The Broncos need to draft Josh Allen. And everyone kept saying that. The Broncos need to draft Josh Allen. And their scouts were big on it. Everyone was big on it. And Elway said no. And people are saying that Elway said no because his ego got in the way of him being like, well, there can't be another John Elway in Denver. I have to be the John Elway of Denver. And then they didn't draft him. You guys get Josh Allen. Everyone's so high up on the pick. Everyone's like, oh man, this is fucking great. And then the Broncos have to turn around and be like, well, who's kind of like Josh Allen? They're like Drew Lock. Drew Lock's kind of like him. And then he's, you know what I mean? It's like,
I love the idea of John Elway being like, I got to draft a great quarterback, but not too great.
Yes.
I still want to be the guy around here. Okay. I don't want any records broken.
Well, that's how it was told to me. It was like told to me that it was like kind of, it got to that point where he's like, I'm John Elway. And they're like, yeah, we know that.
And we did also spend 3 years on the podcast assuming Josh Allen was going to be terrible.
Yes.
we were,
Did you guys?
I hated him.
There's still people
wanted-
that think he's terrible.
I wanted to ask you, Dan, I remember us talking when we were working together in Buffalo. We talked about you knowing Mike McDaniel.
Yeah.
How do you text him? I mean, obviously in season, it's got to be like
you
you
don't
text him and 7 years later he texts you back, yeah, what's up? But like, are you ever like, hey man, maybe get Daniels or tell him to get Debo the ball a little more? I don't know, just checking in.
I have honestly the most surreal moment, and what's crazy is like Kyle, we had that conversation, and you were like, this was before the Niners went to the Super Bowls when we were together in Buffalo and we we're having that conversation. So I got to go to all the playoff games last year because Mike gave me his friends and his family tickets, and I just fucking emptied my Delta Sky Miles. I have 0 Sky Miles. And this was the year I was like, I know shit in January was like, dude, don't worry. I'm going to fly enough this year to get some Sky Miles back. And then I just kept not flown at all. I was like, God damn it. I had so many and I blew it. But it was the one opportunity where, I was like, man, McDaniel came in with the Shanahan regime. And I was like, I went to a couple games this season and I was like, man, if they go to the playoffs, I have to go. And then they got first seed in the NFC. And I was like, well, looks like I'm flying out to the Bay Area. And I kept flying out and he would show me stuff that's like, do you want to know what we're going to run? And I'd be like, yeah. And he'd be like, we're going to run a downhill toss to Tevin Coleman on the first play. But what the craziest part of the whole thing was, it was never that I asked him to do something. It was he would specifically tell me how he was going to break a team, and then he would do it. So when I went to Minnesota, he was like, yeah, their 3 and 4 are garbage. Their D-line, their interior linemen are garbage. So we're going to run right up their fucking gut, the whole thing. And then I watched him do it. And then the next week when I come back for Green Bay, he goes, yeah, their outside linebacker hates contact. So I'm putting Kittle on him. Kittle's not going to get any receptions. It's just going to be running. And Tevin Coleman runs for like 240. And then, we go to the Super Bowl and I know his family. I grew up with him. I've known him since I was 11. So I go to his hotel with him and his wife and his mom and his father-in-law and mother-in-law. And Katie and I are there. And he's like, do you guys want to see the first scripted 20 plays?
Oh, wow. You could win money on that kind of thing.
And I know, what's crazy? Honestly, Greg, there was a moment where I was like, this might be the one time I do a prop bet. I know what the first play is going to be. But what's funny is this is the whole reason that it's not like as cool is because he hands me a sheet and it says like 49 zip right rip. And I'm like, I don't know what this means, and he's like 74 fly back fucking switch. And I'm like, what is that? He's like, that's a pass. That's a run. And I'm like, I don't know what these things are, but it was a cool experience to see that. But then, what sucked is watching him lose. And then I went to the Super Bowl after party because they all have them. And man, what a bummer.
I can't imagine that one's too happy to be there.
Man, and that's like the Jabberwockies are dancing, and I'm just sitting there like, man, you guys had a good season. McDaniel's like, thanks, man. They're just, they're blown away. And so this season, I was really hoping the Niners were going to come back, but the amount of immediate injuries and the amount of everything that happened, I think I felt like you were saying, Sean, like as a Bills fan in December thinking about the draft, I was thinking about it in October. Once we already had 5 losses, I was like, man, I don't know if this is going to be a thing. And then we started catching some momentum. So I was hoping if we beat you guys last night that we would be headed towards a shot towards the playoffs. But last night it was like, oh, we're missing a lot of pieces.
That was the craziest thing that I did not understand about the game yesterday is the Bills started out as 3-point favorites, which is, in my head, it should have been more. The 49ers move to across the country to a different stadium completely. And then they end up underdogs by kickoff. And I'm like, this is a backup quarterback, a team that moved across the country and is staying in a hotel. And the Bills are underdogs. It just never made sense to me.
Yeah, the fact that we were a point and a half favorites by kickoff was fucking mind blowing to me. But it's something that, man, I said this, not, the 2018 season when the Niners were 6-10. I was like, man, we are coached very, very well. We're a good football team that's just missing a couple things. And playing you guys last night, I saw that. I was like, okay, we held the Bills to third down a lot. We would get you guys the third down. We would get the ball moving. We just wouldn't score. And it's like, all right, well, that's where you need a Nick Bosa or a D Ford to just get in Josh Allen's face and to stop you guys converting that third down. Or this is where you need a Jimmy G to get the ball out, or a George Kittle. We forget that, dude, George Kittle's our best offensive player. And we're not going to have him till possibly next season.
But I always think the scariest team going into next year is the team that underperformed the year before. I think that's part of the reason the 49ers went to the Super Bowl last year is they had that shit season. They got Bosa and they were able to put it all together. So at least for next year, your team seems in a good position. You get everyone back. You probably have like a 15th overall pick, which is probably better than a team with that talent normally gets.
And honestly, a team with that talent getting a mid first round pick like that, I trust John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan and how they've used the draft in the past couple of years to probably get a lot of bang for our buck, whether it be someone that's underrated in the draft or someone looking down upon. But you're absolutely right. I've been telling everyone, 2021, don't be surprised if you see the Niners at 13-3 or 14-2. Like, do not be surprised if you see a team that fucking bullies people next year.
The Bosas are no joke. The Bills won last week against the Chargers, but Joey Bosa had 8 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks. And that's Nick Bosa can do that exact same thing.
He looks like a kid that grew a lot in junior high playing Billy football. Like, he just dominates people.
Well, what's so funny is I remember Nick Bosa's, there was a lot of shit. We caught a lot of shit about drafting Nick Bosa and his tweets or whatever. And I remember watching his first snap in the regular season last year. It was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And he got in the backfield so fast that he ran past Jameis Winston. And I was like, oh shit. And then you just watch him every play and you're like, oh, he can get into the backfield in 2 steps.
You're like, oh, I don't care who the fuck he voted for.
Yeah.
As long as that guy plays football, I don't give a shit.
That guy could have rode in Mussolini. This guy's
I don't like his swastika spikes, but he gets into that backfield. Really.
I go, it's very odd that he does the Hail Hitler to the American flag.
Odd touchdown celebration, but it's still worth a touchdown. And that's
But he can't even find him.
But getting a guy like that and getting a guy like, listen, man, we traded away DeForest Buckner. And so then we were really heavily relying on Bosa, Solomon Thomas, and Eric Armstead. And we lose 2 of those guys for the whole season. 2 of those guys, their knees get blown out. So I think it has been good for us to, especially because Kinlaw, our rookie out of South Carolina, has been really good. And there's been guys stepping up. And whenever I've talked to McDaniel about seasons like this, he's like, you know what? When we know we're not going to make the playoffs, it all becomes about, okay, well, let's see who can do what on our roster. And that's why you have a guy like Fred Warner, who's an amazing linebacker, who was supposed to be okay. He was supposed to be a guy that's like, all right, well, and then we had a lot of injuries and he just stepped in and he's fucking unbelievable now. I just want you. I wouldn't mind seeing you guys in the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl. Wouldn't mind.
Neither would I.
I'd be okay
and that's. I know it's an easy thing to say on a Bills podcast, but I think the amount of
some fans here.
Yeah, well, I think the amount of anger that I normally have after a 49ers loss is usually the teams that I genuinely dislike. Like, let's say a Seattle Seahawks. That was a hard loss. Or even losing to the Eagles because Jay and Shane want to talk shit, but it's like you guys beat a practice squad. And so this was the first game where I was like, man, I'm mad because it's a 49ers loss. But at the same time, it's like, at least the Bills are legit. You guys are 9-3. Yeah. You guys are going to be, you just got to worry about the Chiefs and the Steelers. And maybe you don't have to worry about the Steelers after seeing what Washington did to them.
And you know what I loved about this game? The Bills went for 3 times on 4th down. They punted 1 time and they threw 40 times. Yeah. That's all I want out of football. I want people in charge that have played Madden at some point in their life.
I want it 4th and 28. I want an offensive coordinator that's like, yeah, you go for it. What do you mean? I don't punt. Punting's for fucking dweebs. Get out of here. I'm going for it.
I was doing the opposite end of the spectrum where you guys were going for it, and I was doing the thing of like, well, that's not even fair. We're injured. We're injured. You guys can't go for it right now. We don't have our D line. Stop.
That's the biggest sign on why teams should go for it on fourth down, because fans of the other team do not want you to go for it. Like a team is deflated when they stop you and it's 3rd and 1 and you go for it on fourth. That defense is deflated. You should do it every single time.
And I'll tell you, last year, and I said this to McDaniel, and I said it to Kyle Shanahan last year during the playoffs. I was like, the 49ers last season had a bully mentality. They had a bully mentality of like, we're going to fucking rub your face in the mud. And a lot of that was going for it on 4th and 1st or 4th, 4 and 1, 4 and 2. They would just be like, just give the ball to Juszczyk or Mostert and watch them fucking grind it out. And so when I see you guys doing that, I'm like, ah, shit, you guys got the glow this season.
Yeah, like I had the Seahawks in my Survivor League this week. They lost to the Giants, and at one point they punted from like the opposing 38, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, you're gonna lose now.
Yeah, you have Russell Wilson. What are you doing?
I saw yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw this. Cole Beasley, little white guy on our team out who saw him running around. He officially has the most TD receptions by any player under 5'8" or shorter. And I got to say, that's literally the only thing you could do to earn my respect if you're under 6 foot. That's the only way. My respect meter starts at 6 foot tall.
It also led to a baby celebration. John Feliciano.
Yeah, I didn't understand it, but I liked.
Oh, dude, that was probably
him being held.
Yeah. Well, did you hear the audio from it that they caught for it?
No, I still don't know what it was. I don't know what that celebration fucking was.
Any other thoughts on the?
Oh, they had the audio from like one of the.
Oh, go ahead, Dan.
Oh shit! Is my internet fucking up? What's going on? Is my internet sucking?
A little bit, yeah. I think you were paused for like 15 seconds.
I closed out. Nice. Or I was just deep in thought about the 49ers. I was like, but the baby celebration, they caught a little bit of the audio, and it was awesome.
I didn't get to that. Do you guys any other? Normally we end with some trivia, but does anyone have any more thoughts on the game before we get into that?
No.
Yeah. I'm
so
glad.
happy. I don't give a shit about anything.
I'm glad the Bills won in fucking prime time, and it was a convincing win. And I hope Kittle comes back for my fantasy playoffs.
I don't think he is. I honestly, I think if the 49ers lose one more game, because we're already 5-7, I think if we get to the 8 loss mark, I don't see a reason in putting Jimmy G or Kittle back in the game.
Yeah. I think, like I said, I think with the 49ers, it's going to be most interesting to see kind of what they do at quarterback if there's a guy available, because there's like 4 top 10 quarterbacks coming out. And you just wonder, especially with the media, we talked about it, already, but like people are very split on if Garoppolo's the guy. And beat reporters, and especially looking through Twitter. Oh, reminds me, I have tweets of the game. Wow, man.
Yeah.
That's the best part. All right. So usually I have one for the Bills, but obviously you're here, Dan. So we're going to do one for the Bills and one for the 49ers. The Bills one is, this guy is Alfonso Pedro. He said, at Josh Allen quarterback, looking like a boss. I'm excited and feeling like I'm coming. Oh, Jesus. So that guy is coming. And normally I would make fun of him, but I'm coming too. Alfonso, I think we're all coming.
That took a turn.
The 49ers, I wanted to ask this, Dan, their hashtag is FTTB. What is that?
For a fight for the Bay, or it's something for the Bay?
I had no idea. I was like, in my head, I was like, well, 49ers, there's kind of an F in there. And I was like, 49ers
I don't know,
team.
but we're not fighting for the Bay. We're fighting for Santa Clara, and they don't even want us fighting for them.
This guy tweeted out, Germinator said, so Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Josh Allen equal 49ers fans. Why don't we just go into the draft and figure out if there's a quarterback that's a 49ers fan, draft them? It's not complicated. So I'm just saying,
true.
maybe you text Mike over there.
It's true.
Send him that tweet. Go, I'm just saying.
Dude, every single person that's a 49er fan always comes back just to absolutely butt fuck us, whether it be Rodgers or Brady or Josh Allen. Josh Allen was like disappointed that we didn't draft him, and I'm like, I am too. It was like he was like a thing where he's like, yeah, I kept saying they kept like going back to his drafting thing, and he's like, all of his interviews, he's like, well, I grew up a 49ers fan, so obviously it's a dream if the 49ers draft me. Well, if the 49ers draft me, and then we're like, sorry, we need another D lineman. You go to the Bills. You go to the Bills and take them to the top.
All right, we end every episode with a little trivia, a little football trivia game here. We always play for a jersey that doesn't exist, just so we have something to play for. And today's jersey, we mentioned him already. On the line today, O.J. Simpson jersey.
Oh, which one? Bills or Niners?
Well, Bills. Go. Okay. Or if Dan wins, it was 49ers.
If I win, I want Galileo High School from San Francisco. I want where OJ played high school ball, dude.
I don't care. I'm not a big sports collector, but the closest I ever bought to buying memorabilia was a signed OJ USC helmet. And I was like, I just think that's cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
All right, question one. We'll start with Greg here. I want you to tell me who has more Twitter followers, OJ Simpson or all four of us combined times 6?
Oh, so that's at least 24.
And I will say one person in that equation is doing most of the heavy lifting.
I'm gonna go with us times 6.
Times 6.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with us times 6. OJ, I don't think is doing as well. I think he lost a lot of the second prison stint. I think.
All right, Kyle, what do you think? You go next.
I would normally. I think the easy answer is us, but I don't know if Dan doesn't tweet a lot.
Never.
And so I think some people are like, well, I won't follow him. He doesn't tweet a lot. I'll watch the shows. I'll go to comedy. So I'm gonna go my man OJ.
All right.
I think it's genius, and I think Kyle's correct. I'm going with OJ because I also think a lot of people like him as a joke follow. They love to follow OJ, be like, I'm following OJ Simpson, and then every time he tweets, be like, well, you murdered your wife. Got him.
LOL.
Yeah. You cut up Ron Goldman like deli meat.
Well, Kyle and Dan are correct. Us four combined have a little under 130,000 times 6, 777,000, and OJ's at 916,000.
What?
Let's get OJ to 1 million, baby. The juice is loose on Twitter.
Yeah, Dan, can you believe this? Greg said he would never have OJ on the podcast.
Never, ever.
That's insane. We would immediately be number 1 on all platforms. I mean, we're Joe Rogan.
Bill's Nation would be like, these heroes have brought our prodigal son back.
I can't wait for OJ to tweet out like 10,000 away from 1 million. Do your thing, Twitter.
Dude, yeah, let's get this thing to 1 million, or someone's getting cut.
All right,
lose followers.
Question 2. We'll start with Dan on this one. Who has more career passing yards, Joe Montana or all of the Buffalo Bills combined this decade?
Oh, Joe Montana.
Okay, coming in strong with Joe Montana. We'll go Kyle, you next.
Yeah, the Bills were so bad. 30. I mean, it's got to be Joe Montana.
Okay, Greg, you gonna make it a clean?
So is it yards? You said
yards.
Yeah, then I'm gonna go with the Bills this decade. The game's different.
Yeah,
Joe Montana,
right.
like a great game would have been 13 of 23, 113 yards. Like,
dude, Greg is so right. When you look back at that, they go, and Joe Montana impressing us with 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. And
Joe Namath's career throwing percentage is like 13. He was dog shit.
What's so funny is, like Montana did in a game what Mahomes does in a quarter, and we were like, oh, this is great.
Well, Greg had the right strategy, but he wasn't thinking of how bad the Bills have been most of this decade, and the answer is Joe Montana.
Yeah.
40,551 to 37,462.
That's what I literally was like. I figure most Bills quarterbacks for the last 10 years threw for 3,000 yards. That's 30,000. There's no way Joe Montana has less than that.
Yeah. Question 3. We'll start, I guess, with Kyle this time. This is my normal ending question. I'm gonna give you guys 5 names. 4 of them played in the game last night, and 1 of them did not. 2 of the names are Bills, 2 are 49ers, and the fake name in honor of Dan, who is a wrestling fan, is Hulk Hogan's character in Mr. Nanny. So
Okay, I already know this.
so
why did you give out the clues so early? What the fuck was that?
So you're gonna tell me who did not play in the game last night, aka was Hulk Hogan's character Mr. Nanny? Is it A, Dawson Knox, B, Sean Armstrong, C, River Crawcraft, D, DJ Jones, or E, Harrison Phillips? Kyle, you're starting us off.
I'm gonna go Crawcraft there.
All right, we'll go to you next, Greg, since Dan seems like
Rockcraft. I can't even keep a straight face.
You know what's funny is it's the name you don't think it is, but in Mr. Nanny he was Sean Armstrong.
That's correct.
Oh my God.
That's correct.
I immediately just heard Armstrong was like Eric Armstrong. Yeah, that guy played, right?
Yeah.
No.
Or Armstead. Fuck
Yeah,
me.
Eric Armstead.
Yeah, River Crawcraft is a wide receiver on the 49ers.
Yeah, River Crawcraft.
So, Dan, I'll send you that, OJ Simpson high school jersey in the mail.
Yeah, Galileo, huh, baby, right in the wharf.
Well, Dan, when the Bills and the 49ers are in the Super Bowl next year, reliving the early 90s that never quite happened, we'll have you on again.
Yeah. I just, come see us when we have a full D line and a starting quarterback. That's all I'll say.
Yeah,
but good luck to you guys. I truly hope to see a Bills Browns AFC championship.
Ooh.
That's my ideal, and I just don't want to see the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. So that's all I care about.
Yeah.
No Seahawks Super Bowl, and I hope you guys do well.
Yeah.
No Seahawks, no Steelers. Also,
No Seahawks, no Steelers, and that's really those are the only teams I just can't watch in the Super Bowl.
A Bills Browns championship game would be extremely 2020 of the NFL season.
I want to see Lake Erie burn again, basically.
Yeah, burn the lake, dude.
What'll happen?
All right, Dan, thanks for
thanks for having me, guys, and thanks for making me angry and then realizing I wasn't angry.
It's how we spend every day, man. We're just trying to get up the numbers.
Well, 49ers on to the Washington football team, but play them in Arizona. Yeah.
Well,
it'll get better. You had the 80s.
That's true.
And
the
90s. And in 90s, and then 2 Super Bowls this.
Yeah.
All right, let's get Dan off. He was nice up until 1 minute ago.
I don't know if you guys realize this. We are still the defending NFC champions. But, whatever. What am I saying? I got to get out of here. You guys are awesome. You guys have a good one.
All right, you too.
Thanks,
all right, later, guys.
All right, later.
So that was a guest, and now we have to talk about the Bills. And they play the Steelers next, who are dog shit.
Yes, that's basically what I want to talk about is the softest unbeaten team in NFL history. I'm not saying we'll definitely beat them, but it's like you look at their schedule and it's like they beat the NFC East, the Bengals twice, the Ravens with RG3, I just looked on Twitter, they're favorites going into the game, 1.5 point favorites.
Yeah, that's good.
the Steelers fans are instantly doing what maybe all fans would do is they're instantly like, well, we're missing our top 2 defensive players now, or some, they're missing Bud Dupree now, and Devin Bush is out. But I watched that the last 2 games I watched, and that offense is also not good. And that has nothing to do with their defense, missing 2 players. That offense, for having Juju Smith-Schuster and Deontay Johnson and Eric Ebron and Chase Claypool and James Washington, that offense isn't doing much either. What's their excuse?
And I've been saying all year on the pod that I think the Steelers are going to be bad. I wanted to take the under. Of course, I was wrong. They won a ton of games, but I do think they're not that good. Like as a team, they're a playoff team, but I just don't think they're that good.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Pittsburgh, kind of a shitty city.
Wow.
I love Pittsburgh as a city. That's one of my favorite cities.
I've been to Primanti Brothers. That's one of their sandwich chains, right? Overrated.
I've been there. Okay, I will say this. Fries on sandwiches is fucking stupid. Like, you can have a good sandwich. Fries is just eat the fucking fries. Why do you make them soggy?
I think it's too much. It's like combining two great things doesn't always make a good thing. And my thing is, it was like, why did this initially start happening? This is now just food. This has nothing to do with football. Why did this initially start happening? Is it, they were like, well, the fucking steel mill workers, they didn't have enough room for French fries and enough time to eat a sandwich and French fries. They were like, put it on there. Yeah, now we do, you dirty, gross, fat fuckers. We do have the time. Separate it. Enjoy each separately. You're not a
looking in a
steel
mirror
mill worker
there
anymore. Okay. The only things that exist in this country are startups and coders, and that's fucking it. All right. No more steel mill workers. I don't know what I'm saying.
I loved it. I would go to war for you. Like, who do you want me to punch? I'll fucking punch them. I won't hesitate.
I think the Bills beat the Steelers 32-17.
Before I give mine, I have a key to the game. How the Bills can beat the Steelers.
Okay, so then I'm not going to give my prediction until I hear how they can beat them, because this will go a long way.
That's smart.
As we know. Oh, by the way, I wanted to say this too. When I was watching Steelers yesterday, Ben, he doesn't move around. He's kind of fat now. But
only Kyle could call an NFL
he's kind
athlete.
Kind of. I'm not saying. Look, he's not a world-class athlete. We can say he's
always
good.
been. He's always been not so.
Yeah,
smart.
but yes. I said I cannot wait. While watching Ben Roethlisberger, I said I cannot wait until Josh Allen's 17 years in the league and he doesn't run as good. And he's kind of got a little gut, but he's still slinging it. Mm-hmm. I was like, I can't wait for that. I can't wait to watch that. Anyways. We put all of our captains. Oh, they don't do the coin toss. All right, so everyone's just got to wear it. All the players wear fat suits with Roethlisberger's names on their back in the first quarter. And it just kind of pokes fun at them. Everyone's got to wear a fat suit for a little bit.
Okay, that's kind of play some mind games because
people like a mascot. Maybe not the players. Maybe you get mascots. You walk around on the Bills sideline dressed in a fat suit and a Roethlisberger jersey.
Did people do that to you in high school? Is that why you came up with the idea?
No, I was doing it. Kyle on the couch. I was doing it enough for myself. I was the mascot of the fat kids.
All right. Bills, I'll say they win 17-13.
What'd you say, Sean?
32-17.
Bills win?
Yeah.
I got to say the Bills are flying high. The Steelers, I'm glad the Steelers lost last week also because now there's no pressure for the Bills to be like, what team can beat the Steelers? It's just a game now. They lost. It doesn't matter. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think Bills lose 17-16.
Wow, even with making fun of Roethlisberger. All right, that's it. I'm done. I gotta go. I have a job. I have to feed my family.
Okay, can I give a 45 seconds? Give me 45 seconds. I just want to quickly a Patreon launch. We got more people than we thought.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go to the Patreon. There's a bonus episode up. Another coming. I guess
blogs are good.
Blogs are good.
Up.
People liking the blogs.
I like how Kyle said something like he knows how to read.
I didn't read it. I don't even know how to get to our Patreon. Buildos are in the works, baby. I'm buying the stuff. I went to Lowe's. I said, give me your best primer. I'm figuring it out. You're going to get your Buildos. Not before Christmas. You'll get them, though. They're coming. That's a pun.
And we'll
Anyways,
have a Greg Buck highlight for our next podcast because a Patreon won the honor to personalize
Yes.
their own Greg Buck call. So we got that.
who got the highest Patreon or Joe B tier? Sean, what's the guy?
Steve Campaign.
He will be a guest on our podcast.
And he can name it anything he wants. So
Yeah.
Good knowing
sometime
you
in the
guys.
future.
Yeah, exciting
next
times
season.
coming. Check it out. Thanks for a fun episode, and we'll see you next week. Big Steelers game.
Bye.
Those are good, all because of us.
Sweeto.
Sweeto.
The Bills won.